We'll start recording, and we are live. Welcome back to the 480 Experience, recapping a disappointing loss on the road to Cincinnati. A heartbreaker, a game that honestly ended up being kind of uninteresting in my mind. Kai, we got Kai on the show. Welcome, Kai. How do you
Thank
think?
you.
How did
Thank
you
you.
like the game?
Terrible, terrible performance. Strider, I told you this when we before this live stream that I was gonna go in hard on the ASU squad today, and horrible ball played by ASU offensively, defensively. ASU now hosts a 5-2 record, 2-2 in conference play, giving Cincinnati and 5-2 in the conference as well, 3-1 in the conference actually, and 5-2 as a general record. But ASU, man, I mean, terrible performance. Cam Skattebo, the leader, as always, had a fumble today. Very devastating. The defense played terribly through the first half. I think today was a rough spot, and things need to be evaluated for this team to get back to, I feel like, a real contender in the Big 12. There was a lot of disappointing things I saw today that I think everybody was kind of expecting to start out the year, and I think this is the team that we thought we were going to see this year play in Cincinnati, and that's not what we are. We aren't that squad, and it was very disappointing to watch.
So my analysis on this game is I think Arizona State is about a year ahead of schedule, and I think most people could probably agree with that. And so
I agree.
because of that, I think that Arizona State has a couple issues on the road. I mean, if you look at all of their road games to this point, they've been in a massive hole early. The Texas State game gave up 14 points pretty quickly on, right? And then you go to Texas Tech and they play terrible front to back. And then this game started off with a nice touchdown to get things going, and then Cincinnati kind of just had it from there. And
Yeah.
so I think this team just has some issues on the road, and it's a young team and a lot of transfers. And I think, you know, I don't think this was necessarily the worst coached game. Um, some of the things Arroyo called up, especially on fourth down, have actually been quite concerning. That he
Which is what
thinks,
I've been saying all year. Marcus Arroyo is a bum. I
okay,
hate him. Get him out of the OC position. I am not a fan of Marcus Arroyo. Brian Ward, the defense was there in the second half, but I've been saying this time and time again, every single year, or not every single year, but throughout this year, that Brian Ward and the defense, they aren't a first half defense. They're a second half defense. Since these only points were in the first half, ASU's offense needs to be able to keep up with that team through both halves of play. The defense can't be lacking in the first half, and they can't sure as hell be lacking in the second half. The defense was there in the second half, but also where's the offense at? Cam Skattebo can't run anything, and I get we're without Sam Levitt. I get that ASU's without Sam Levitt. We have Jeff Sims in. You know, I know going into the game, Kenny's like, how can you not get behind a guy like Jeff Sims? But I can't get behind a guy whose stat line today was horrendous. 12 and 23, 155. Couldn't get anything going, and his main target was Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson deserves the reps, don't get me wrong. But Jeff Sims looked horrible. The stat line and the way he played was terrible. The way he would roll out the pocket, he had a horrible time too keeping up with the defensive pressure that since he was putting on him. Rolling out to the left and being able to get these pity yards out of each play, horrible play. He just looked so confused, just not being able to know what he was doing. I thought this game was going to be a little bit closer. Maybe Jeff Sims was going to prove something, and he proved to me why he should be third string. I want Trenton Bourguet in now instead of Jeff Sims.
yeah, okay. So the way I see it is going into the game, I didn't know how, Levitt and Sims fought in training camp for this starting job. I actually didn't know how much of a step down Sims would be from Levitt, and I mean the answer is pretty clear. Levitt's that guy, and Sims just looked a step slow today. Okay, there was a couple of times where he had open lanes and he chose not to take them, whether it's because he was scared or he was stuck scanning the field. I don't know, but I mean, 12 for 23, 155 yards, zero touchdowns, zero interceptions. That's great.
Okay.
but you barely threw the ball, so who cares?
It's terrible. He
we
looked like a
and here's
JV kid.
okay, but let me just say it this way, okay? So if I told you before the game started that we had 40 rushes for 191 yards, you would probably say that's probably a win right there, okay? But when you fail two fourth down conversions around midfield, and then when you get an interception, Keith Abney, okay? Thing about Keith Abney is he'll make a play, right? But he's also gonna give up a lot of yards playing soft zone coverage, and I don't know if that's actually his fault. I think that actually might be Brian Ward's fault.
What?
But
Why? But there's so
no, no,
much
no,
left off. There's so much pressure there. There's so much pressure that needs to be applied to the wide receiving core in Cincy during
no, I
this game,
know.
and it was horrendous by the defense not being able to do that. That soft coverage killed them.
It,
Those
it,
curl
it
routes, those comebackers, the middle of the field routes, the slants, everything was getting on ASU.
it's been killing them all season. But what I was gonna say is Keith Abney, he plays soft coverage, but he's gonna get a turnover or two a game. So he got his turnover early in this one, and that would have been the time to capitalize on a mistake from Cincinnati and what would be their only mistake of the game. Not really, but like big mistake, turnover. So
Yes.
I and then Cam Skattebo and kind of what's I like uncharacteristic for him, fumbles just off the first hit. Like and then from there
It
it's
was
like,
rough.
well,
It was rough.
your defense, I don't think the defense played bad. I really don't. When you start a drive on your own or on your opponent's 20, and then when you have to stop them from the 50 and 40-yard line, like that's tough, man. That's really hard.
No,
And
of course it
and
is.
I think at the end of the day, this was an offensive failure. Defense has some things they can work out, but man, man. And if you look at like
I
Brendan Sorsby, his stat line wasn't even that crazy. Like
yeah.
23 for 31, 206, 6.6 yards per throw and an interception. Like he didn't do anything crazy. And then Corey Kiner, like he played solid, but he actually rushed for less yards per attempt than he had on the season, right? 4.6.
Yeah.
They just used him a lot now as Evan Proyer gashing us, ripping our hearts out on that 55-yard run.
Oh my gosh.
I don't.
Terrible. It's we could sit here and talk all about the defense and how great they were in the first half or how great they were in the second half, but at the same time, that defense is lackluster when it comes to the first half. And my biggest thing too with the Cam Skattebo fumble is that was the dagger, in my opinion. That's what sealed it because the offense lost all momentum after that. All momentum was lost after that Cam Skattebo fumble. But I can't even blame a guy who fights for yards like he's in the trenches. Cam Skattebo, have you seen his jersey? What it looks like every
No,
single time
yeah, I
after a
know.
game.
I know.
He's bruised,
Okay.
battered, everything in between.
I have a question. Why do all of the ASU athletes' jerseys just like come undone every time they take a hit? Like, do they just have low quality jerseys? Have you noticed that, dude?
Like the
Every time
Fanatics
Keith
jerseys.
Abney
Yeah.
gets is in on a play, his jersey comes undone from his shoulder pad. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It kind of cracks me up. Like, what
It's the
materials are they?
Adidas. It's the
Yeah,
Adidas.
it's the. If this was Nike, it wouldn't be happening.
Exactly. If this was Jordan, guys, if this was a Jordan brand, this would not be a thing.
Oh,
No,
man.
but I just Cam Skattebo was bound to have a fumble this year. It happens with anybody. I think honestly, I'm surprised it happened now and not earlier in the year. Cam Skattebo, I mean, he gets hit, dude. That man is a freight train.
He is.
He comes away from every single game
And that
battered
touchdown
and
was
bruised.
That touchdown was unreal by him, man.
The truck, was it the hit stick that he hit? Is that what the one you're talking about?
With the two guys, and he injures one of
Yeah.
Cincinnati's
Oh.
players. Hate to see a guy get injured, but it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skattebo played. I would say this is probably maybe Skattebo's worst game of the season. He still had 75 yards and 2 touchdowns.
But you can't blame a guy. I think Cam Skattebo had still a great game. I mean, when you look at it on paper, through what was it, 17 carries that he had, and still put up the yards, 17 carries, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's not a bad game by any means. and Cam too. My biggest thing there too, you can't blame him because that's the least amount of carries that he's had all year in a game. On average, I believe it's like he's right around the 23, 24 mark for carries a game. If he's still 7 carries shy of that, which I thought was horrible play calling by Marcus Arroyo. It is so bad. The third down conversion rate for ASU was absolutely unacceptable. You should not be having that any time during a game. And for us to be, what was it, 0-3 after the second half, or no, 0-4 in third down conversion rates going into the second half, that's unacceptable. And the play calling was not there. All of this came on for 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s. It's those third and out plays that are killing us, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And quite frankly, I just think Jeff Sims is not the QB. Of course, Sam Levitt's here. Maybe we have a different story on our hands. But I was willing to see Cam Skattebo throw the ball a few times because that's how desperate I was to see a big play. But Cam Skattebo still had a great game, but the play calling on third downs, the fourth down conversions were just horrendous. I think it was terrible and definitely something ASU is going to have to work on going into the bye week. I think that's something that's got to be addressed.
Yeah, so I talked about this after the Texas Tech loss. I said, guys, there's been a lot of good this season, but what I do know is this team sucks on third down, and you're not going to win big games being terrible on third down. 4 for 12. They went, I believe, 0 for 6 or 0 for 7 in the first half. So that means the second half, they actually they were fine, like 4 for 6. You'll take that, I guess, but it's too little too late when you're down 24-7. Like, it falls on deaf ears for me. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. And I believe if we have Sorsby, ASU probably wins the game. I think Jeff Sims is probably who you point the most blame at. And he made a couple decent plays, and Jordan Tyson went out there, and he balled out. He balled out, and what I will say is I've been saying this. I think it applies to every level of football. For some reason, people don't believe me, but it comes up with, like, the Terry McLaurin debates and, like, how good is Terry McLaurin actually? And everyone's like, well, he's had really bad QB play his entire career. And my stance is quarterback play actually doesn't affect wide receiver performance as much as people think. And Jordan Tyson here is an excellent example. 6 receptions, 108 yards, most of it coming on that long 42-yard catch. But he also had some catches taken away by PI. That one that could have potentially been a touchdown. Cool, I guess. I feel like Jordan Tyson gets wrapped up on PIs way more than he should. Like, he had no chance of catching that ball. Let's just be honest with ourselves. But he had a good game. Skattebo receiving was fine. But I don't like the fact that outside of Skattebo and Tyson, we only had 2 other players even get a reception, and one of them was Mateer.
Of course. But let's also Troy Omeire.
Yeah, Troy Omeire.
I am so surprised to see that he actually came into the game. And that's what made me laugh when I was watching the game, is when Troy came in to take an offensive snap and he got a reception. That was not on my bingo card for tonight's game, and I was very surprised by it. It was not a pleasant surprise by any means, but it was not at all. But I was very surprised to see that they actually let him get some playing time. But Troy Omeire, he's not a bad wide receiver by any means. I just think that, he's not a guy that you ever want to see come into a game, because that's when I feel like we see all hope kind of get lost. So that was my biggest thing with the wide receiving team and who got a reception. But you want to know what I want to talk a little bit more about, Strider?
Yeah, what's up?
The kicking.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Do you know Ian Hershey went to high school with us?
Yes.
Wait,
at Highland?
He went to Highland.
What? Are you serious?
I think he was. I don't know if he was there during your time, but I was like
he's
thinking
a sophomore.
about.
He's a sophomore. Yeah, he would have been. What?
Yeah, because he went to Idaho State, I think, last year.
Yeah, he went to Idaho State. He was with the Bengals. He was born in Idaho.
Yeah, but he went to Highland.
Are we sure?
Yes, I looked it up. I had to know. Because I was like,
Yeah,
whatever happened to that
just
one
really
Highland
curious.
kicker who was actually pretty good? He was like one of the better in the States. And then I look it up, and he's the kicker I'm watching miss the kicks in the Utah game. And I was like, are you kidding me? Dude, he was automatic. He was automatic at Highland. I don't know what happened.
He was a
Um,
2-star kicker coming out of high school.
okay, but he's on a D1 roster. Okay,
He
Power
is.
4 team. But should he be?
But
No, no,
you
no,
know
no, no,
what,
no,
Kenny?
no.
Did you see the thing Kenny posted right after the game? We're hosting tryouts on Monday.
Did he actually?
Did you not see that? So Kenny Dillingham in a press conference afterwards said the kicking game and the special teams was atrocious tonight, and that the 2 extra points are guaranteed. But when you're at field goal range as a D1 kicker, you cannot be missing a wide open opportunities, and that this is something that they're going to address drastically during this offseason week. And Kenny Dillingham said, and I quote, "We will be hosting kicking tryouts Monday. Shoot me an email, shoot me a call. We're going to make it happen. Surely someone at this damn school can kick a football."
Oh my goodness!
So I'm
I don't
going
know how I
D1,
missed that.
Strider. I'm going D1,
Wow.
Strider.
Kai, I think this might be your opportunity to make
This
the
is-
roster.
You know, everybody always told me I should play football. I should have played football in high school, but I think I get my chance now as a D1 kicker for ASU.
That's
I'm going to
that's
show up
crazy.
Ian Hershey.
But it's very bad. Like it's
it's horrible.
it's
Horrible.
really bad. He might be one of the worst kickers in Division One football. Oh, and they weren't even hard kicks, and they had no chance. Like the announcers were even kind of making fun of him a little bit. Like the second one, that one left his foot, there was no chance.
And my biggest thing too, like on paper, this is where I have an issue because Ian Hershey has proven that he is a horrible kicker. Through 2024, 70% field goal percentage, terrible, 7 for 10. He's 4 for 4 from the 20 and 29, but from the 30 and 39, he's missed 2. Both of them coming from today's game. One of them, too, that he's missed is a 50-plus yard field goal earlier in the year. Granted, when you're out from the 50, I feel like it's a little bit more acceptable. But when you're within the sticks, from that 30 to 39 range, if you are not,
You got to be
killing a
automatic.
field goal, you got to be automatic there. That's where you need to be a kicker. Can't always be going for the extra points, but he proved it with Idaho. 63.6% field goal percentage, 7 for 11. He missed no 50-yard field goals, but he missed 3 20 and 29 field goals back when he was with Idaho. That's unacceptable. And I can't
He
believe
missed
that
2
this-
today, almost much as that
We should
entire.
have expected this. We should have expected this from Hershey going into the year.
No,
I
know.
have never bashed a kicker so much, and Pat McAfee might come after me for saying this, but like, it's not that hard to kick a football. If you're a kicker, you need to learn how to kick a football. And if you're Ian Hershey, you're not doing that. And I've never bashed a special teams player as much as I'm probably going to bash Ian Hershey here, but it is completely unacceptable. Unacceptable to be on a D1 roster and be missing field goal attempts like that. You need somebody that can kick a football. Screw it. Give me Cameron Skattebo as a kicker or someone.
Just run him out of the Wildcat. Let him kick. He can play corner for us. D-line.
Let
like,
Jordan
come on.
Tyson do it. Cameron Mater, he's got quads. Like, let someone. But when that makes it a one-possession game, that's when there's an issue. Six missed points tonight for ASU by Ian Hershey after the 2 missed field goals. That's unacceptable. That's momentum right there that would have went in ASU's favor, and maybe we could have been talking about a whole different ball game if one of those gets nailed.
No, you're right. And there is actually one time I probably talked worse about a kicker, and it was 2017 Blair Walsh with Seattle. But I don't know if I'm ready to compare Ian. I don't know if I'm ready to compare Ian Hershey to Blair Walsh because, how did that guy make an NFL roster? I'll never know.
At least he made a D1 roster look good.
Yeah, but I mean the Vikings negative degrees game where he shanked a 13-yard field goal and then single-handedly was the reason the 2017 Seahawks didn't make the playoffs. Come on. Terrible kick. I'd take Ian Hershey over him any day, I would say.
I would not. Quite frankly, I would not.
That's
Such a horrible situation, man. for ASU. And for Kenny to literally say, surely somebody at this damn school can kick a football, makes it laughable that Ian Hershey's even on the team.
Yeah, it does. And I don't know. But let's move on from Ian Hershey. We can probably sit in despair all day about just the garbage we saw from him. But outside of Cam Skattebo, who did you like today?
Outside of Cameron Skattebo, I will say I like Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson, he's been my guy all year long. I've kind of been behind him since the start of the season. He's a guy that I've been such a huge fan of throughout the whole year. He's been solid. He's been ASU's number one wide receiver. He's proved it time and time again that he can, really blow past his defenders. That man coverage and that 4-2 nickel formation that Cincinnati loves to run so much, he kind of blew through it today. And I was super impressed to see that from him. Tyson's 42 long field goal, or sorry, his 42 long catch was phenomenal, And Tyson's a guy too that I think he's a lot more sufficient at route running than he is at speed, I would say. But don't get me wrong, he's a quick guy, but I think his route running is kind of what defines him a lot more. And that's something that I love out of wide receivers. I prefer a guy that's a lot more of a route runner and kind of a fundamental type of player rather than a guy that's more or less laid back and just a lot of speed, which is Tyreek Hill. But anyway, there's a difference. But I love Jordan Tyson on the squad. He performed phenomenally today. Like you said already, Strider, here's a guy that can really just outperform a lot of different wide receivers. And I think he was able to perform even with a terrible quarterback. That's a good wide receiver. Being able to fight through adversity and being able to come out on the brighter side of things. That's something that I was impressed with tonight for Jordan Tyson. And, defensively, Miles Rouser, I can sit here and talk all day about how good he is, but I was impressed by Shamari Simmons. He played that will slot really well today. Defensively, I really liked him when he lined up in the mic for that third down conversion play during the third quarter with Cincinnati. I think he did a great job at being able to kind of cover the run game as a whole. And you don't see that a lot from safeties now that like to come down and kind of play that will position. And I saw it today from Shamari, and I was a big fan of it. Brian Ward definitely fixed that defense in the second half. A lot of credit to him. He's been a great DC for Arizona State. But, Shamari Simmons kind of very, very much surprised me today with how good he played as a safety tonight, and I was very pleased with it.
Okay, so for me, I'm going to stick with defense because I think the defense actually played fine. Miles Rouser, obviously, is very impressed with how he played. He gave up a couple plays. There was one I was trying to think of, but it isn't coming to mind right now where I was like, should have made that play. But on that drive, it was the drive when they were down 10, okay? And Cincinnati was it their two or three, somewhere around there.
It was their two.
It was their two, okay? And an excellent pass defense by Miles Rouser and then CJ Fight stepping in and being able to just get the stop. That was actually pretty massive, and I felt that the momentum kind of changed there. And I honestly, when we made the decision to kick it with Ian Hershey at the end of that drive after that Jordan Tyson bomb, I was a little disappointed, and I think that's probably a spot with Levitt that ASU probably goes for it. If this kicking keeps up, I think in the future we'll probably just go for it no matter what. Because it seems like field goals aren't even a remote possibility anymore. But yeah, I thought CJ Fight played well. I was a little disappointed in the defensive line as a whole. However, one sack. I mean, Sorsby can move a little bit, but he's not that good. He's no Jeff Sims, okay?
No Jeff Sims.
And only one sack on the day. Didn't love that. 5 tackles for a loss is fine. Only 2 pass defense. They played fine. They gave up a lot of points in this first half. Like I said earlier, I don't know how much of that actually would have been their fault if all those drives had started at their own 20-yard line or their own 25-yard line. Is that different? Are we seeing maybe a 14-point game by the ASU defense? We don't know. We'll never know. But let's take a look at the Big 12 now. 2 losses makes it It makes it a little tough. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. There's still a
Especially
chance
with
for a bowl game.
No. I would say the chances of a bowl game are pretty much sealed. Like they'll get
It's
a
a
bowl game.
lock.
Yeah,
I feel
they'll
like it
get a
would be a
bowl
lock.
game this year, especially with UCF at home, right? But as you look
The
towards
BYU win the other night too was tough.
was massive for them.
What a comeback, by the way, by BYU. Sorry, I cut you off twice now. Sorry,
no, you're
sorry.
good. You're good. You're good. No, massive game for BYU. 4-0 in the conference. It seems like are gonna lock up a Big 12 championship appearance. Iowa State. It's gonna come down to Iowa State and Texas Tech, and they do play. I think it's maybe the 3 weeks from now, possibly. Can't remember exactly, but Iowa State and Texas Tech. That game's gonna be massive. And now, Cincinnati jumps us in the rankings. They're 3-1 in the conference. Their only loss also coming to Texas Tech. So Texas Tech has been a solid team this year, and it was always going to be tough to kind of get over them just because they've played so well in the early part of this conference schedule. And then you got to look at a Kansas State. Are they going to play as bad as they did against BYU again this season? Probably not. Colorado, I'm not totally sold, so I would probably venture to guess that ASU ends above them in the rankings. West Virginia, same story. But then, Arizona. After today, how much better can you really say ASU is to Arizona? Because now you can say, Utah was ranked, but Cam Rising's injured, right? He's out for the season. So,
gonna enter his eighth year of collegiate football.
Yeah, dude. Hey.
What do you call that? That's a quad super senior?
Yeah, and, good for him. He has enough time to get his master's degree. So a lot of people want to do it. Not very many do. So good for him going out and doing that, getting a master's.
Let me show you around class.
Yeah, let me show you around class, little girl.
Where my hug at?
All the freshmen out there. All the Utah freshmen,
Be careful
man.
of Cam Rising.
I know it's a thing in Utah. How long can you go without getting married? But, dude, resist Cam Rising. He's not the
That's
one
a
for
BYU
you.
thing.
That's a BYU thing, yeah.
Yeah. What the freak is happening, man?
What the freak is going on in Provo?
Have you seen that video of the BYU player, the
basketball player?
He's knocked down. He's like, shut the freak up.
So good. He would have got suspended if he used any other word.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I forget.
But yeah, no.
Or the interviews where they're like, what's the craziest thing you've done at BYU?
Okay. We're getting too off topic.
Sorry.
But the answer is always ginger ale and Powerade. One of those two.
Yeah, I spent the night at a friend's place, platonically.
Ooh, platonically, okay. So, bye week coming up. Then, Oklahoma State hosts ASU in Stillwater. And Oklahoma State is last in the Big 12, but by the way ASU played today, and if Levitt's not back, are you going to sit here and tell me that's a lock? No.
Well, no. There's a lot of optimism going into that game to get Levitt back, especially with the bye week being right in the middle of this.
Yeah.
Sad no ASU football next week, but definitely is going to be needed for this team to go out and get another dub so we can all rush the field and get a bowl game.
We're not going to rush the field again this season.
Not twice. You don't think so?
No, you don't do that.
Do we think BYU finally gets ranked, by the way?
BYU has been ranked.
Oh, that's right. My bad. Sorry.
Are you talking about Texas Tech?
Yes. Sorry.
No, Texas Tech, depending on what they do. Are they playing right now?
I thought they had a game right now.
Should I take a look real quick and see what
Also, Bama's beating Tennessee 7-0, just for all the fans who are curious out there.
Oh, so Texas Tech is playing Baylor. But
yeah.
Baylor has it on the Texas Tech one. It's tied 7-7. Sorry, that's going to become outdated really fast. Sorry. If you're watching this in the future, you'll know what happened there. But then UCF is on the schedule. That looks like an extremely winnable game. Especially, they're pretty injured right now. We'll have to see how they are in 3 weeks. Kansas State, that game always looked like one of the toughest ones on the schedule. Still looks that way. BYU, obviously, that's going to be
That's going to be the toughest game. That'll be the toughest game.
Yeah, and that'll be the one that wraps up our home schedule. So everybody better show up to that one, even though it might be pretty bad. And then U of A, which I think U of A and ASU are kind of on the same level this year. I think they're both solid squads. I think the difference is U of A is actually underperforming and ASU is overperforming right now.
That's
And
fair. I
you
agree with
can
that.
even with this 2-2 conference record, you can absolutely still say they're
Yeah.
overperforming. They're gonna get
Well, because the only
probably
good
7 wins
player.
this year, maybe 8 if they're lucky,
Yeah.
right?
I see ASU taking a game away from Kansas, or it's gonna be Kansas State, or it's gonna be BYU where we take a game. I see us beating one more ranked opponent.
Okay. Well, you heard it here
Book it.
first, folks. Kai has us getting one more ranked win would be great. Um,
I think ASU finishes in the top 25.
really.
Yeah,
After
I
what
have
happened
ASU.
today.
I have ASU still winning it out in the top 25. I don't know. I'm optimistic about the squad right now.
Hey,
Levitt's just
all
got
I'm
to be
gonna say
healthy.
is if we had a yellow M as our logo, we'd probably be ranked right now. But
The
we're not
Golden Arches.
we're not Michigan, so
Oh, I thought we were talking about McDonald's.
no.
My bad. You
No,
said
we're
Golden
not.
M, and I was like, oh, Mickey D's.
Michigan, dude. Because
Sorry, I got
Michigan does
excited.
not deserve to be ranked, but we can talk about that later. Probably, I think that's all we got to talk about, man. I mean, just a disappointing game. I wouldn't be surprised if this video gets 0 views because no one's interested in ASU anymore. But if you did stick around, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
We'd appreciate it.
But yeah, not a game to forget,
is
certainly.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as bad as the Texas Tech loss. You do.
Right. It
Um,
was way worse. But
I-
yeah, thank you guys for watching. It pays
Yeah.
for our tuition.
no, it doesn't.
We
We wish it did. We wish it did.
We wish
but
it did.
As
I'll just get
always,
hit by a car.
forks up, forks
Forks
up.
up. Forks up.
And we will see you another time
In the next one.
in the next one. Hopefully we'll be talking about an ASU win, but we'll see. All
Hopefully.
right, see you guys.
See ya.